Welcome to the ChicoBag podcast. I'm your host, Andy Keller, and today we're here talking about reforestation, conservation, and community-driven climate action with Kyle Dubee from More Trees Together. More Trees Together is dedicated to restoring forests, combating climate change, and empowering communities through tree planting initiatives. In this episode, we'll explore the impacts of reforestation and how we all can contribute to a greener future. Kyle, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Andy. Good to be here.
So tell us a little bit about what you're doing. What is More Trees Together and what kind of things are you up to?
Wow. Yeah, thanks so much. More Trees Together is a community organization. We're 501c3 in the United States, but we operate as liaisons to community groups in not only Kenya, but also in Costa Rica. We're working to build reforestation programs and sustainable economics. Our focus is trying to figure out how to get people off plastic in reforestation. And while we do that, we generate sustainable livelihoods through economic-driven reforestation programs.
So tell me, what's happening in Kenya? Like, what problem are you solving?
So in Kenya, Kenya, like many countries along the equatorial belt, the belt that goes all the way around the world, about 15, 20 degrees up and down, are some of the poorest places in the world. Rich ecosystems that are amazing and diverse and full of so many things worth protecting. But as people move and grow their communities, there's habitat loss and destruction. And with that, where companies or countries struggle from economics, they lack infrastructure to handle plastic waste. So two things that More Trees is doing is we're providing biodegradable bags as tree seedling containers and helping people to devise economic programs that they can generate money off growing trees.
So biodegradable bags. So is the status quo of tree growing is in a non-biodegradable bag, or how's that work?
Yeah, so globally, we suffer from petroleum addiction. One thing that happens in most containers, containers all over for every single thing, they're made out of plastic. And that translates into every aspect of every kind of economy. And in the green economy, growing trees, plants, shrubs, all your food, all of that kind of stuff, all that's also grown in plastic for the vast majority of things. If you imagine a large-scale nursery where people are trying to grow hundreds of thousands of trees, that equals hundreds of thousands of plastic bags. So in places where we're struggling to be able to handle a waste stream, like in some of these poor countries around the world, they struggle to deal with the trash that we're generating by doing good things.
So I imagine just with a nursery, you can't have a big pot or, like you would pick up a tree at the hardware store. You need to make this thing light and portable so people can hike this into the deep in the forest or the coast to plant these things, right? Is that the reason why you're using bags over like terracotta pots, for example?
So I think, like you were saying, the status quo right now is part of the reason that the bags that are being used is about transportation. It's really hard to get a heavy terracotta planter pot somewhere, but it's really easy to, like, if you envision a grocery store produce bag, it's a roll of hundreds of bags. Who knows how many exactly is on it, but each one rolls off and you have your own individual bag. So that's basically how most reforestation projects are working also. There's hundreds and hundreds of bags are all one long, never-ending plastic tube sock that all get cut down to size.
Yeah.
So that it's about ease of moving these containers to start nurseries, just to start. And then, of course, like you're saying, you can't get a big pot deep into the jungle. That's just not possible. So seedlings are really where it's at. And so a small bag small container, small plant. That's what moves mountains to make forests.
So I know what you're doing is more than just about planting trees. So tell me a little bit more about like why planting trees in Kenya is important. Like what impact does this have in the communities that you're working in?
That's a great question. So in Kenya, we're working in the coastal region of Kenya. It's called Kilifi County. It's right on the Indian Ocean. There, most people come from agrarian communities. They've made their life by growing corn or other root vegetables and things there, and it's subsistence in a lot of ways. Now, plenty of people have moved on to higher technologies or whatever and are not just agrarians, but the average daily living wage in Kenya in that region is about $1.25 a day. So this is real hand to mouth living. You know, some people, even if they make $2 a day, they're still lucky to bring back some flour to cook ugali at their home. That's like a polenta dish. They call it African cake. So what More Trees Together does is we try to sponsor community groups that are already doing volunteer work within the community. So you think about people that are already doing good, people that are getting kids off the street or protecting sea turtles or picking up beach trash or many, many different things. We decided it was important not to reinvent the wheel. Why not support people that are already doing good? So these volunteers are still struggling every day to make a living. How do they manage to volunteer? Well, that's because of the kindness of their heart. So what we do is we set up a reforestation program for them and then purchase trees for them so they can generate living together as a community. So basically, it equates to about 14 trees a person can plant to the same wage that they might make in a whole day of work. So in 4 hours of work, the average person can make as much as they would make in an entire month of work. So really what we're doing is changing livelihoods in a big way. This seasonal kind of work where for 8 months, people can make the equivalent to a month's salary in a day's worth of work translates to going right back into their village economy so they can pay for something that they've saved together with. Not only that, you know, they're learning about the value of reforestation, what it does for their community, what it looks like to plant trees that feed them or feed their blue economy, their green economy, whatever their biome is. We tailor a system to support them.
So that's really interesting. So there's groups that are doing good things. They need money. You're giving them the ability to raise baby trees. You buy the baby trees from them, and then these trees are planted all over Kenya to especially along the coast is what I'm hearing, to help the larger, I guess, the underpinnings of the whole economy, right? So because I imagine you're planting mangroves, right? If you're right on the coast there.
That's exactly right. So we're working in two different kind of forest zones. One is the mangroves, and one is right next to the last intact coastal forest in East Africa called the Arabuko-Sokoke Forest, home to forest elephants and the golden elephant shrew. You know, animals that are endemic there, endangered, and won't live anywhere else. So we're trying to create buffer around that region to protect illegal lumber poaching in this last intact forest. And then work in this really, really amazing UNESCO heritage site called Mita Creek, which is a mangrove place, host to 8 different species of mangroves. We're really focused on 4 that are on our bioregion, and then focused on providing biodegradable bags in other regions so people can continue to do R&D on whether these bags work in their. So we talked about, or I brought up blue economy. Like you're saying, these things, they're all connected. A mangrove is so instrumental for a seaside or a coastal community because it is where fisheries start. So if we lose the trees in a mangrove, then we lose the ability to grow small fish, and that affects the whole livelihood of people that are coastal, whether it's ecotourism or just fishing. You know, it could be many different things.
So I believe Kenya is tourist location, is it not?
Oh yeah, it's rich with ecotourism. It's it's funny you bring that up. So what More Trees Together has managed to do is through so we're sponsoring this one really great group. It's called Turtle Bay Conservation and Development Group. So these guys, they started with just a basic village cleanup program. So they were so excited that it was amazing because during the pandemic, people were losing their minds trying to figure out how to make a living. So these guys were like, well, we got to do something because we don't have anybody picking up the trash. Maybe we can make money off picking up the trash. So we partnered with a recycling company there and started picking up trash and bringing it in to be recycled. And they're like, wow, now we're really generating some income. And people were so excited about that. They were interested in what else they could do as a community group. So we thought of a lot of different ideas and then figured out that reforestation might actually be something that we could get funding for from like broader agencies. So these guys, as they raised money through reforestation, they actually set up their own ecotourism business. So now they can literally take people to where they've planted the mangroves. Now they've bought canoes, and we're about to. These guys are so good. They've actually made a program where now they're going to actually work with a grant from the Kenya government, Kenya Forest Service, and acquire a 6-acre piece of land. And the hope is we can set up a educational center for children there specifically and do mangrove reforestation and coastal plant like community, like learn about that in general.
Wow, I mean, when you say it's all connected, like it really is. So you got your mangrove forest, you got the fisheries, you have the groups that you're supporting, you're giving them a wage that is above and beyond what they're used to. Of course, when people have opportunities like that, doing good things, they're less likely to do bad things. So what kind of bad things are they not doing as a result of the economic development that you're powering?
That's a great question. So it's kind of amazing. I would even share video of this. So we've actually because of ecotourism that we've created with this program in coastal Kenya, More Trees has been able to sponsor people to do monitoring of the mangrove. So as we go and check out how our trees are doing, what problems have happened, what's success, creating citizen scientists, as we do that, we're finding people out in the mangrove poaching wood. So it's actually illegal to cut down wood in Kenya. You can't cut down mangrove. It's just not something you can do. So these guys are literally risking their lives to cut down mangrove to try and make a living. So we might find them with our group when we're out on monitoring. So when we find them, we go, hey guys, there's got to be a better solution. If you're trying to make some money, how about do it planting trees rather than cutting them down? So we've managed to take poachers, people that used to cut down the forest, and transform them into tree advocates, people that are actually doing work to get other people to not go out there and do that. And then we
That's
also have this really
amazing.
cool program called the Children's Seed Fund. So we actually support kids going to school. So through nursery building. While we do that, what we get to do is give parents a break on the weekends. We get the kids, do environmental outreach with the children, and these parents that regularly are trying to figure out a way to make a living actually get to volunteer with groups that provide them a sustainable livelihood. So the community at large is being educated on the value of reforestation and what it looks like to make a change from something that's plastic to something that's biodegradable. So that alone is a big part of the education platform. If we can show people that they can do it a little bit of a different way, then all of a sudden they start doing it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone wants to provide for their family and stay healthy. And, when there's not a lot of opportunity, they're going to do whatever they can to make that happen, including, cutting wood and, doing things that aren't necessarily good for the environment, but it's good for their family because it helps put food on the table. So I applaud you for giving them an alternate route to do something more productive while at the same time meeting the needs of their family and themselves. So I think, you know, that's exactly the kind of change that we want to see in the world. So I imagine people that are listening or watching this, you know, might be inspired as well and might want to get involved. So if somebody wanted to, you know, support your organization or learn more about, you know, how important mangroves are, you know, in the economy of these coastal towns and villages, where can they go to learn all that?
Well, they can certainly check us out at www.moretreestogether.com. Our website has information on there, how to donate, whether you want to support the Children's Seed Fund, maybe adopt a nursery, or just become an annual member. That goes a long way. You know, at just 38 cents a tree, we can plant a mangrove in Kenya.
Is that all it costs? 38 cents.
So that's right. So the one thing that we're really working for as More Trees Together is working towards radical transparency, right? That's what we're really, really open to. So just right now, you know, it costs 7.5 cents to support a tree seedling, 8 cents to support a bag, 7.5 cents to plant someone to have someone plant this, and then 11 cents, 10 or 11 cents, depending on how it goes right directly back into the foundation. And so that foundation, which is run 100% volunteer, this 11 cents allows us to create the ability for logistics, to move bags to these people's hands, to do environmental outreach and all that kind of stuff. So you can learn more about that on our website. We also have social media. You can find us on Instagram at More Trees Together. We're volunteers, so we're trying to get our head wrapped around the whole social media and website thing, and it's coming a long way. I hope to see it grow in the next few months. So go ahead.
Oh, so being volunteer based, are you taking more volunteers?
Absolutely. So one thing that we like to do here in the States is set up volunteer opportunities to just push the message out. So like I've partnered with local sports teams, and we've sold ticket sales for More Trees Together. Proceeds go to. I have I work collectively with a community supported agriculture, a CSA. So this group, Leafly Lanes, every time they sell a subscription, they actually plant a tree. So many different businesses have chosen to work with us, you know, to show that they can do something different. You know, at 38 cents, you're really making a difference. Now that's just a mangrove. Again, back to radical transparency. It's important to know that different things cost different things, you know, like it's different costs for different things. And one thing we're really trying to support through our foundation is R&D on these biodegradable bags. So fortunately, we've created citizen scientists both in Kenya and in Costa Rica to do research on these bags. So what we're learning is what success we can manage through using something that's alternative to plastic. And that's something that you're really able to support through becoming a member at moretreestogether.com.
That's great. You know, it's, you know, Kenya seems like a far away place, yet, you know, we all know that, you know, the overall health of the planet is made up of healthy ecosystems all over the planet. So when you are supporting a healthy ecosystem on the other side of the globe, it does come back and support your own health as well. You know, so it's important to remember that there seems like quite the movement right now to just look at what we're doing here domestically and not internationally. So this is, I guess, one opportunity for people to push against that narrative and to reach out, you know, beyond our borders and to ultimately help ourselves through helping other people.
Yeah, I think so. This year we're planning on launching a program for kids specifically in the U.S. that's called Tree Pals, and what it will be is a pen pal program that links up our green team, our Children's Seed Fund, with students domestically, so we can learn about cultural differences, the similarities, and how, like you're saying, you know, it's all connected. You know, we talk about the seagrass bone connecting to the mangrove bone, connecting to the forest bone, connecting to the weather bone. It's that same puzzle that we've always been talking about. The coastal forest in East Africa is affecting weather in Africa, which affects weather all over the world. And whether you like it or not, it's all connected. So we can really play a part, and we're hoping that our pioneering technology around this biodegradable bag translates into agriculture in lots of different places. We've got to get the plastic out of agriculture and reforestation. It just doesn't make sense. So how do we find out that solution? We partner with citizen scientists. So domestically, we can be growing bags with kids and learn how long a bag lasts. If we know how long it lasts, then we know how to fortify the future in something that's not plastic. So that's really what we're trying to do this year. Like, what does it look like for us to work together so we can see differences? In a place like Costa Rica, they're getting 300 inches of rain a year. In a place like Kenya, they're getting 9. And they're on the equator. So that's got to make a difference. It has to. So we have teams now trying to figure this out. We can do the same thing with our youth. So we're curious about what the future holds because we're lending ourselves into something as we grow our future. And that's the beautiful thing about planting a tree and seeing it grow. 5 years later, 10 years later, you look back at it and go, wow, I actually did make a difference. There's a bird in there. Just a bird alone is enough to be curious.
I mean, that's a really good point. As far as, as we all get older, we want to leave a legacy, right? And planting a tree is probably the one for sure way that you can leave a legacy, for future generations. So thank you so much, Kyle, for the work you're doing and inspiring us, to all leave the place better than we found it. So thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. It's great talking to you.
Likewise.